Games, board games, here we are again. My name's is Bez, and Jessica Metheringham is her name. And I rhymes are not the best today, but I can't always be perfect, and that's okay. I know I said in the title sometimes I need someone to kick my arse, but this is sometimes true and sometimes it's a farce. How much stuff I get done, sometimes it's not much at all, but then I guess I don't take days off, so that's trouble. Board games is what we're talking about. Board games, I'm not gonna shout. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are. It is 10 a.m. UK time. Time for another busy beats and board game blether. And today is another general catch-up with Jessica Metheringham.
Hello.
And what are we going to be chatting about? I wrote a few notes, but if you could introduce what's been big in your life and what you need to get off your chest in just as a quick summary, as a quick preview.
What's big in my life? So I have mainly been doing the pledge manager for Library Labyrinth. Yeah, we talked about this a bit last time, but I have mainly been doing it. I've been completing things, getting all the payments in. There was trying to match up payments as well, because as well as a proper pledge manager, so we have a lot of people going through Game Found, we also have an option to just send me the money, because there are a few people who are going, I have no idea how to use this pledge manager. What do you mean I need to sign up for another thing? So for them, I've said, okay, just send me the money. But I'm then matching up this, thing with another thing. I've got a big spreadsheet. So so spreadsheets is big in my life. The other non-gaming thing, well, I mean, there are also lots of things I'm trying to think about.
Everything's kind of connected, and life and everything
connected. I mean, the other things that are currently at the top of my head, as it were, is I have thoughts about a quick card game I'm sort of looking at with my kids, which is about matching, not matching, it's about not putting down the same picture as someone else. We're currently trying to do it with with different shapes and colors, and I'm not quite sure how it's going to work, so perhaps we could have a bit of a brainstorm about that might be fun.
About not matching stuff. A game about quickly grabbing creatures that are totally different and counting your beat suits.
Yes, you do. No, this came about from tangrams. I'm not quite sure.
Where there are kinds of the objects that are little squares, and then squares cut into halves, into triangles, right angle triangles.
Absolutely, yes.
These shapes, and then sometimes you put the shapes into the shape of a love heart, or into the shape of something else.
Yeah, so we were playing a game of that, and I was looking at that and going, hey, what if instead of actually moving the pieces around, we were thinking about these and going, oh, well, I need to make something which has a purple triangle, and someone else says, well, I also need to make something that's got a purple something else, but not a triangle. And I was just trying to work out how can we,
Ooh, so interesting. Anyway. So you have to match a little bit, but not entirely.
That was the thought, but I'm not quite sure where to go with it. The other thing that's completely...
a bunch of things. I mean, that feels like...
There's something there, but I'm not quite sure where I'm going with it. The other thing that's non-gaming related, yesterday I painted the front gate. Tomorrow or the next day I need to paint the front door. So,
okay.
There you go. Paint!
And... I was actually wondering while you were, and hello Yoda, it's lovely to see you. Thank you very much, all the way from the Netherlands. Reminder that over here we like to say Netherlander Yoda, but because it is such a weird, confusing thing. Apparently, Dutch came from the word Deutsch, and then it's because us silly little British people were all confusing the Germans and the Netherlanders, but hey, there you go. Anyway, I was actually considering for future whether we even need recent highlights, because this whole thing, it is just us getting stuff off our chest.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do need to kick up the arse, but then I remembered that, you know what, Monday was meant to be like my day off. And whilst like it was a day off from making games, and yeah, I did do a tiny bit of social media, which maybe I should have done zero rather than a tiny bit. But I had a lot of pressure on myself to like sort out through all my stuff and unpack and yeah, do all the things and find something for Chris and McCall because they need a charger that's kind of actually Chris's, and I should have found it and I feel really bad about it. And the plan was for Chris, like if I hadn't found it by now, to come over and help me look for it. And then they realized, oh wait, I need to go there. But then McCall's found the worst chargers, like they've got a backup plan. And I feel really bad. And I said, I'm sorry. And Chris was like, no, don't worry. It's all good. You don't need to apologize. But I do wonder in retrospect, was that like, what's the solution there? Should I have worked harder to just like do the 5 minutes to get started? And then, because in the end, I was just paralyzed. I literally did nothing because there's like, I need to go through all these boxes to find this one thing. Do you know what I mean? And there are like 300 boxes behind me, maybe 200. There's a lot. There's hundreds of big boxes.
Yeah.
That's not great. And or is it the case that I should really be saying, yeah, this 1 day a week, I've decided Monday is my day off for each week. And Monday, I am going to do absolutely nothing, not even life admin. I'm not going to, if I do life admin, if I do my tax stuff, if I do...
Oh, I need to do some of that.
Or any of that stuff, then it's not going to be on a Monday. Monday, even if there's nothing going on, the only thing I will do is read and walk around. And that's the only things I will do.
Oh, I want a day off.
Like,
I like that
I mean?
idea. Yeah.
Like, what's the solution here? Should I go lean into getting more stuff done, or leaning further back into saying I do actually get a day off each week? And hello to me, it is lovely to see you. And hello, Xate, it is lovely to see you. Relatively early compared to normally Xate arrives at like 10:40 or 11 o'clock, which is the time that I'm just finishing. So, yay, Xate. But yes, I mean, let's actually just take a step back, and then if anyone has any questionably quick questions, that's the next section. It's not an interrogation. It's just a questionably quick question section. Because, yeah, I think let's forget about the recent highlights, because we are going to share what I think we're going to do is have some questionably quick questions. Let's ask each other a couple of things. Let's let the audience ask us a couple of things. Then we'll do the brilliant stuff. And then we'll go for our own recent highlights, and then we'll, you know, work out stuff. So, Jess, do you have a question for me?
Oh, you know what? I've been thinking about, you know, random questions, things I wish I knew, whether other people, you know, did them or whatever. So here I have a question, and this is not really coming from anywhere, just when you have, you know, so clearly you eat dinner in the evenings, or you eat a meal in the evenings. When do you decide what you're going to eat? You know, are you a plan it out in advance? Are you a, what have I got in the fridge type person?
Ooh. So, I would say I'm a plan it out, especially if there's someone coming over, I will plan it out. I'll be like, okay, this is what we're having. Right now, I'm on a diet, which is a high potato diet. So since last Wednesday, I've been eating 90% potatoes. I am having this multivitamins, and I have been allowing myself tomato juice. Monday, I did break my diet. I allowed myself to have whatever I wanted. I had a tin of curry, and I was like, oh, this is too much. I'm actually kind of feeling a bit faint. I'm not feeling great. I'm going to have a tin of that. I ended up having a bit of junk food, a big bar of chocolate. Then yesterday I went back to my diet, my high potato diet. I had like a tiny spoon of peanut butter, but like that's it. Like normally, I think I like to know what I'm having. I like to have some sort of idea, but I do keep some things. And like for dinner, when I'm on my own, I don't always have. This is my lunch. This is my dinner. I don't always do that. Quite often, it's just okay. I'm going to have something to eat when I get back from this place. And if I wasn't on a potato diet, that might mean I have some instant noodles, or I just have half a pack of peanuts. Hello, Matt. It is lovely to see you, the wonderful QB and we've got. So we're asking about planning stuff, and Yoda says, I plan my meals for most of the week, and I won't stick to that plan.
Oh.
Sate says, actually, I have too much to do to listen today, which is disappointing since I finally made it on time. That's totally okay. Lots of love, and I guess Sate is gone, but lots of love, and hopefully see you another day. But I imagine Sate being a bit of a planner, knowing that there are some elaborate meals going on in Sate's life. But yeah, what are you? I imagine you're a planner with a family.
Well, I would like to be a planner, but actually I'm not. I mean, this is the thing that I feel not exactly disappointed, but I always feel a little bit annoyed with myself. It gets round to 4:00 and I'm like, I have no idea what we're having for dinner tonight. Now, I mean, we don't have a huge repertoire of meals at the moment. There are only certain things the kids will have. But it's quite useful actually to have, quite often we have multiple things that we've got at the same time. So, for example, last night we had mutter paneer with some dal. Now, mutter paneer is what the kids call cheesy peas, which is in fact is not mutter paneer at all. It's mutter halloumi, really. So it's so it's mutter paneer, with the peas and the tomatoes and the onions and the garlic and things, but it's made with halloumi instead of paneer cheese. But the kids love it, so we had that, and then we had the dal and some rice and things, but we hadn't actually thought about that until quite late on, and it was a bit of who's going to do it? So yeah.
I mean, I think this is kind of almost like the theme of today, like me kicking myself about not looking for all the boxes and building it up to be this thing, and maybe we are just too harsh on ourselves. I don't know. I mean, we could always do better, and I don't think there's ever a case to be made for saying, yeah, that's it, I'm good enough, I'm never going to do more. That's like a terrible state to be. I hope you'd agree, but yeah, Sate says, Sate makes 2-week meal plans, buys accordingly, but makes any meal from the list when hungry. I totally get that.
But then where do you store the food? I mean, actually, this might be that we have quite a small fridge. We have quite a small fridge at the moment, and also we have small children who come and just, take things, and that's fine. But, I mean, food doesn't sort of hang around. So if you make a meal plan, then, a few days later, the food for that meal is gone and it's been used for something else. So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you've got other people in the house, like small children who don't really listen to what you're telling them, and then you've got a plan for these tomatoes, and the tomatoes are meant to be the key ingredients in this thing. But yeah, it doesn't work. Hello, Cosmo Games. It is lovely to see you. Might talk about them later. And Matt wants to let us know they had a massive list of things to do, 75% through, and left all the fun stuff, including doing YouTube videos. Presumably that's all the offline gamer cast stuff to the end as reward to myself. That's an interesting thing. So let me ask the last question, big quick question, because these have really been questionably quick. What do you do as a reward to yourself? If I want to reward to myself, I like to, I'm going to say I go for a walk and I wander outside, but I don't know. You know what? I'm going to say I read a comic. That is, if I feel, I've got loads of time, that's my reward.
Right now, then I tend to be reading things, actually. Right now, I am quite engrossed with the Reddit threads, which are about writing prompts. So you get a really short story that someone's written, and some of them are really good. So yeah, you get this short story, and then you just, but the trouble is that I then read on to the next short story, and then I'm like, oh, what about this? What about that? And you get a different writing prompt, and it's a lot of fun. I really recommend.
And I assume that's Phil. So yes, lovely to have you here. And let us move on to writing and reading. Reading, which we've all both mentioned, is a brilliant thing. Brilliant thing. It's a little thing which is brilliant. Why is reading a brilliant thing? Let's us count the ways. Let's go back and forth. One thing I love about reading is that it's kind of, you feel a little bit more active than just watching back and having photons firing into your eyes from a screen or something.
Oh, I do not get immersed in TV in the way that I get immersed in reading. If I'm reading a book, then I'm properly in there. And if I'm just watching something on TV, I suppose occasionally, but yeah, reading a book, it's like instant, straight down into it. Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's one nice thing about it, that not only do you control the pictures in your mind, but also you control the pacing. Like if there's one bit that you feel, oh, I need to slow down and I need to process this bit, or, oh, I'm just going to skim this bit. This isn't so exciting. You can do that. Whereas it's a lot harder to do that with a TV show. I mean, nowadays, a lot of them do have the controls to put up the speed, even like to 1.5 times. But you don't want to keep changing that. Like with a book, it's like, oh, wait, let me read that sentence again. And is that not like a lovely thing where you have to wait a minute, that happened? And then you just reread that sentence, and it's almost like you do a little replay in your mind.
Yeah. No, I like it. And plus the fact that it's a very personal thing. I mean, you can read with other people. It's not what I do. I mean, reading aloud is not for me. It's very much a just me thing. But, different people like different things.
Yeah, Yoda mentions, I read a book before sleeping, not to get tired, but to relax from watching a screen all day. Yeah, I do hear that. It's really good to not be looking at the screen last thing before you go to bed. I've been really bad at that recently, I have to admit. And normally I'm kind of falling asleep with a screen in front of me, which is not great. And yeah, I think that's the key thing. That's rather than light coming out, it's like being reflected from a little lamp or whatever.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
And I guess we could talk about reading. I mean, because in terms of obviously this book, which I show every few days, Building Blocks of Tabletop Game Design, fantastic book. And for information, it's just a nicer way. You slow down when you actually need to process something more. I feel like books are the best way to learn information. I say this having doing the video. I mean, this is kind of for the emotional payoff, right? I mean, a conversation, it's nice. But I think that's also looking at something like Magic the Gathering or flavor text in any other game. It's something that's there. And it doesn't need to be bright and in your face. But if you're like, hey, let's investigate this a little bit. I wonder what's going on with this cat with the face of a dog or whatever. I don't know what, maybe it's a cat. Like, that might not be obvious. That might just look like a dog, to be honest, in a drawing. But you know what I mean. And then you read the flavor text and you're like, oh, this was the process of Dr. Alakazam, and you start thinking, oh, who's Dr. Alakazam? And then you read other cards, and then it builds up a world. And I think that's quite a cool thing, when it's just something that you can do when the other person's taking a little bit longer than you'd like.
Yeah. There's something as well, I think, about having, because I'm so accustomed to it, having that format of a book, and it's not necessarily even the format of a book, but the format of a page. You've got this sort of amount of space to lay something out in, which actually I feel slightly strange if a book is not the normal book shape. You get square books occasionally, and it's like, they're fine for booklets and leafing through, but I think that quite often I want something which is particularly if it's something where it's diagrams, I actually want something which is an A4 size, just because that's what I'm accustomed to.
A4. I mean,
Well, actually,
just
A4 is too big for that.
A4, like
The ratio, the ratio, I mean.
like this. I mean, just to
Yeah. Not
okay, so
not the size. I mean the ratio. That it's that it's
okay,
that.
you want it to be portrait size. You want it to be typical book. Okay, got
Yeah,
it.
that's
And
what I mean.
like, I do like some other things, and especially if you've got a big comic book like the Calvin and Hobbes collections where it lies on your legs, and that's quite comfortable. And what I've noticed recently is when I'm reading on a laptop, then I don't really notice it until after a few hours. But then it's like, oh, my legs are getting a bit hot, and this can't be good for them. And so, yeah, just reminder that books are generally good for the environment, like paper and recyclable. But as always, if you want to say anything about books or as we go back into games, feel free to comment, ask questions, fun like follow, and let's get some stuff off our chests. So, what have I been up to? The big things emotionally are my failure to unpack, which, and I've been posting stuff. I've done a bit of drawing of stuff on envelopes, a wee bits of social media, planning a Kickstarter, trying to think about a Kickstarter for a game about cute comical creatures and trying to identify them after it makes noises. And speaking of that, I thought I might show this picture. Actually, you can see a little Cosmo Duck logo in the bottom right. So we were chatting about, and so this doesn't mean that anything's necessarily going to happen. There has not been any deal signed, but this is something that Phil sent over this morning, and they said that they picked, I didn't realize this, but they picked the colors, based on the colors of the lettering that I'd originally done, which was based on the colors of the creatures. So it's kind of got a cohesive color scheme. And yeah, it looks fun. I like the fonts. I like the classic black white with a splash of color. I mean, obviously, you'd need to check that all the colors are bright enough that they are readable. But I also like the speech bubble, which feels like it says, yeah, this game is about making noises. Of course, this is just a mock-up. It's very easy, but that is super exciting to see. What's your thoughts on this?
So I really like the coloring and the lettering, and I like the fact that it's but in the middle it is
Creature.
yeah, exactly. That it's a bright yellow orange compared to the purple, blue, green. Those shades together have just a little touch of sinister about them, and I like that. Not bad sinister, but there's just that little bit of like, ooh, interesting. So I really like that. And I also really like the fact that the first and last letter, those are green, whereas the first and last letter of the bit which is been taken out, those are both purple, if that makes sense. That it's green to purple, then purple to green. That actually really, that makes it look quite even. And, and I think, that's probably why they've gone for those sort of colors in that pattern, because it just looks so natural. So I really like that. I think it looks very straightforward, not exactly simple. Simple isn't the right word to use, but it's classic.
Understandable, and it's
yes.
like,
Understandable.
yeah, I think that's simple. I think simple is it's not a derogatory word. I mean, simple is good.
Yeah,
and that is what the game is. I could imagine this maybe like the creatures even faded out a tiny bit more, and then having one big creature, like, so that it's almost like this one creature is saying creature, like one creature that's kind of shouting that. And then yeah, I could imagine just one creature on the front, although yeah, even there, I don't know, because like part of the appeal of the game is that you get so many creatures. I think it's important to, so maybe you want like a I don't know, But yeah, I really like that. And talking about this game, Cosmoduck Game says less is more. Yeah, I would agree with that. And I could imagine, bits of stuff like the faded out creatures continuing, maybe being slightly more spaced out so that they can go over to these sides, maybe the back of the box. And no, thank you for sending that over. It was lovely to see. Talking about my Kickstarter, I guess I should definitely remind. And hello, Josie. It is lovely to see you. And you're here for the grand reveal of a potential French thing. But yeah, so for the Kickstarter, I was marginally disappointed. I'm not going to lie about how many people have looked at it so far. And I've currently got 56 people signed up. So if you have not signed up already, then please go and sign up to my Kickstarter. I was thinking, why is it not quite gotten to that state? Is it just because, hey, we've already seen the wee whimsical creatures? Because I was really kind of hoping that this would be an improvement over the previous one. And I'm not sure what's gone on, because at UK Games Expo, this was definitely more popular than the original. And so I was reminded that one thing that did happen is I said, oh, would you rather have this or that? And trying to first find out which are the most popular creatures, then getting rid of a bunch of them to redraw a few of them. And I've got no problem with redrawing even 16 new creatures. Let's get rid of a bunch of them. Let's say, okay, these are good, these are fine, I'm happy with them, but some of them are going to be better than others, right? So if we ask people, hey, which are your favorites? And we keep 75% of them, I don't know. And then even 20 of them we change, because the cute comical creatures I draw in a faster way, and it's actually kind of more fun to do for me. So I'll do some number, and then maybe that's all okay, which one of these four is your favorite? Which one of these four is your favorite? And going through, allowing people to have a stake in the game, allowing people to actually change it. Maybe that is what's needed to make it a bit more popular and get people to talk about it. Because, the other thing is, there's not loads of things going, not loads of reviews or whatever is the other thing to remember, I guess. But what's your thoughts on this?
I think my thoughts on this is that for those of us who already have wee whimsical creatures, then cute comical creatures seems like it's the same thing but with different art.
So it's almost like, why would I get this?
Yeah, exactly. So it's the sort of thing. Well, it's not necessarily why would I get it, but why would I back it here? It's the sort of thing where it's like, okay, maybe if I'm at Expo, pick up a few copies as presents for friends. But it's not the sort of, oh, well, I've got to get this here because this is a new one of Bez's games. Yeah, so it almost feels like a relaunch, and I don't know whether that's the right impression or not. It might not be.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right that someone said, oh, I assume that these can be combined. Someone asked, oh, is this exactly the same rules? And yes, all those things are true. And I do wonder, not now, but after this. And so I think I'm allowed to publicly say that, a big publisher is still looking at five of my games. And so I will wait for them to potentially come back, and I'm going to wait for a pitch meeting in September and October. But fundamentally, I do want to continue doing some self-publication. And for Kickstarter, I am wondering whether the better answer would be actually for my bargain bags and stuff, or for future stuff even. Maybe I should try and make the preview page because this is the easiest preview page I ever made, in that I did the least work for getting it up, because I was like, okay, Bez, I need to do this. I need to get the preview page up. Remember all those terrible Kickstarters? Remember the worst Kickstarter you've ever seen? Kickstarter accepts it if it's at that level. So all you need to do is get it to that level, and then get this. This is the only bit that anyone will ever see until it actually goes live. And so what I'm actually thinking for future is that I might have, let's say, 10 pre-launch pages up for possible games, and even like have prototype parts in them, and then use that as a way to gauge which actually to work on. And I know this sounds weird, but it's almost like a pre-Kickstarter. So if I'm able to have, like, if I've got like 5 ideas for things that I could be working on, then why not? Yeah, that feels like a thing. Josie agrees with you, Jess. Josie says the new art is lovely. It doesn't add anything new really to the game. I would pick it up at a convention rather than backing specifically, unless I didn't have wee whimsical creatures.
Yeah, there's definitely something there about whether you already have wee whimsical creatures, because, you know, for those people who do, then it's like, yeah, of course you'd do it. But if you don't, then yeah, why? I don't know.
And for some people, it's like, I've played this so many times that we've seen all the art, and we've heard like the noises for every single creature multiple times, and you want to get new creatures, which makes perfect sense. But for some people, it's like,
there's definitely something in that, you know, for those people who have seen it all before. But how many of us is that? You know, that's not all of us. So I don't know.
Cosmoduck says, it seems like party games are not made for Kickstarter. I've had talks with several publishers who has lots of projects on Kickstarter and other crowdfunding sites, and they all tell me the same thing. People who buy party games aren't on Kickstarter, or Ulule, for that matter, Ulule being the French equivalent of Kickstarter. And it's a shame, because this should be the point of crowdfunding websites. But yeah, that's a thing. And so, yeah, it's possible that when I come to a game about drawing creatures, complemented drawings, and complemented complements, will that do better? Or is that not going to have the same resonance as a game about wee whimsical creatures and trying to identify them off speaks noises, just because I've done already multiple print runs? I've already printed 200, rather than with the original it was 50. Then I sold out in a day, and then people really wanted it in 2 days. And maybe, even though I didn't plan it that day, maybe originally the kind of pent up desire was a big part of it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. It can be really difficult to work out what it is, which is the specific thing where people go, oh yeah, this is why I've gone for this. And sometimes it's just, you know, that everything's come together at once, you know, that it's not a particular thing. It's just that, you know, this is here and this is there and whatever. So I think, you know, with wee whimsical creatures, it might have been a combination of, you know, you talking about it a lot online, you know, because you've been talking about it in the Facebook group. And then, you know, the fact also that it was the first of those things, you know, that it felt like it was quite new. So perhaps
like it was the first ever Bezzy bargain bag,
yeah, that makes a big difference. I think, actually, it being the first, I think that makes a difference.
And beyond that, the only other thing that I've got to, that's pretty much all I've got to get off my chest. I want to mention that I'm working on new games. I've been working on a game about selecting 7 cards, searching for speedily searching for synergies. There's a lot of S's there, and you've got things like the Gardener, the Volcano, and I played the Lovely Date, which you get bonus points if you've got exactly 2 creatures. And I think this is the 3rd completely different version.
Okay, so these are quite random things almost.
Yeah, Marie Kondo makes you sacrifice all items except for one.
Nice. I like it, I think. I mean, I think
gets rid of all the other creatures, but it's got loads of points, which is why you would take it. And spray paint. So you've got the art supplies here, and also there's an egg, which might be meaningful. because if you've got the let's see if I can. So Hungry Horse gets points for every cake. And then you've got the Sunshine, which doubles the value of landscapes. The 7 fancy shoes, which you get a point for every leg that you have on all your creatures. But if you've got more than 7, they all argue, and you get 0 points. Same for the gloves, the party hats, and here's the Hungry Horatio, which also wants cakes. And then you've got people who want landscapes or want, and then musician who gets instruments, the artist who wants art supplies. And here we go, the planner who wants music, cake, party hats, and creatures. And
everything. So that's great. I like it. I like it a lot.
So I had a poll for Tabletop Scotland. I gave them a choice of 4 different games, and that's my new thing. And I'm also, and that's the thing that I'm going to finish by the end of August for first print run. Thank you very much, Cosmo Duck. And I should say that it is going to, and I was saying, I had a chat with someone, this is going to be definitely not final. Whereas, you know, yeah, all my none of my published games are completely final. Even Yogi, like, which has sold hundreds of thousands of copies. If I could go back, I would take out the card that says a hand on a knee, put that into the expansion, and put one of the upper body ones into the original. But I just know that there's going to be numbers to tweak and things to change. And I want to make sure that people understand that and say, yeah, it is £5 and this is almost definitely going to change and you need to be buying into that. But yeah, that is my updates. And thank you very much for the compliments. So let's talk about your stuff, Jess. What's going on with you? What's been the big things?
I have a very big spreadsheet, a huge spreadsheet. It's like this. Yeah. So I've been doing basically a lot of the Kickstarter shipping. We've got now, I think we've got something. Let me just look. I can tell you precisely. So we have 18% of backers. Well, 18% of spent credits has been spent on Kickstarter, and that's 181 people have gone through GameFound, basically. And then through paying direct, then I've had about 120 people. So I've been sort of trying to match up those, the ones that pay direct, then I've just had to match them up on the spreadsheet, which actually hasn't taken very long at all, because I've downloaded the stuff, from because that's going direct to Stripe. So I've downloaded the Stripe thing, downloaded, the Kickstarter thing, and I'm just going, right, yes, you've paid.
And this is all based on the 1,070 backers.
This is all based, on Library Labyrinth. Yeah.
And so that still leaves like 800 people.
Yeah, I mean, that basically leaves, we've still got, just under 800, I think, is in total.
That seems like, so 800 people haven't filled out their form? I mean, I know that's a chunk of them presumably backed without any rewards.
Absolutely. I mean, now let's see, we made this live the end of last week. So, we're only a week in. So basically, quite a chunk of them did it immediately. With previous surveys, then I remember that it was very much, you got a huge chunk immediately, and then it took a while, filtering through. So I'm assuming that the filtering through will happen again slowly here. We're in no huge rush to complete the to make sure we've got it all absolutely perfect, because people will pay their shipping eventually. We're not actually going to have to be paying anybody for shipping until the end of this calendar year, probably. So it's at that point that we go, okay, right, let's make sure we've got everything. So I'll probably start reminding people. I mean, we'll send out reminders on a regular basis.
So it's not even going to be sent out for quite a few months. So
Absolutely.
it's not like, okay, then that sounds perfectly fine. I mean,
Exactly.
if I got this, it's not been shipped for a
Exactly.
while, and
Yeah, and a
let's
lot
put
of
it off.
people, we've told various people that they can. Well, we hope it's going to be ready for aircon. The timetable at the moment says says that copies will be with us before aircon. But of course, I know what that's like. So we've told people in the survey that we hope and we are expecting that it might be ready. There's been lots of words. And I think there's even a bit of bold saying we're not sure if it's going to be ready yet, just to make sure that everybody's fully aware that it might not be ready.
There are no guarantees.
There are no guarantees. So some people, I think, are holding out to see whether they can pick it up from us at Aircon, because we've said that they can. I mean, because that would be, I think we have asked people, and we've had something like 100 people say that they'd quite like to pick us up from us. Some at Games Expo, some at Aircon, some because they live near us. For example, we're investigating with a shop in Reading, a shop in Worthing, and a shop in London, because that's where we live, basically, to see if they can keep some copies there for people to pick up. So Josie says she's one of those 100. Yay!
And hello, Josie. Thank you very much for doing that. And also, hello, Alex Aquasulis, for jumping in on the stream. We're just talking about the Library Labyrinth fulfillment.
Yeah,
which
we have had quite a few people. Now, I'm just trying to think how many people. I can go and find out how many people have filled out the survey, because I think it was. Oh, in fact, we're doing quite well on the survey. We're now. Oh, we've only got about 200 people who haven't filled out the survey, but a lot of those haven't quite gone and actually done the game found bit yet. Some people are waiting for me to send them a link, which I have done, but I'll perhaps need to go and send that again, because you know how these things go. Links end up in junk mail, and you can only write back so many times and say, check your junk mail. So, yeah. But yes, that's how it's going.
Yeah, and some people just don't get emails from Kickstarter at all, which is...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's all there in the updates as well. So, yes.
Like, I've been trying... Yeah. And yes, Alex, there's plenty of spreadsheets. There's so much.
Biggest and enormous spreadsheets. Currently, I am just so you know, currently I am sorting it, and I like to sort my spreadsheets rather than use pivot tables, because I like to see the whole thing. Currently, I'm sorting it by column BE at the moment, just to give you an idea of how big the spreadsheet is. But that's okay, because many columns are hidden and there's a lot of conditional formatting, which makes it lovely.
Okay, I'll trust you on that. That's not something that I can give a lot of inputs into, but congratulations on that. And I think that you deserve to be proud of yourself. And 2 weeks ago, you said you would never do this sort of game found pledge manager thing ever again. How do you feel about it right now?
I would do things slightly differently. I'm not sure. I wouldn't say I'd never do it, but if Kickstarter, but I would certainly look into, firstly, ways round it in Kickstarter. So basically charging for shipping, because actually we haven't had, there hasn't been any significant benefit to charging for shipping later. People talk about the potential benefits, and I'm like, actually, it is definitely, for me, it seems just easier to charge for shipping when you run the Kickstarter. I mean, yes, the two sets of money get all tangled up with each other, but if you are looking at it carefully enough, then
Yeah, and that's why for any stretch goals, I've started doing it based on the number of copies rather than the amount of money. And it's a tricky thing, because the amount of money, someone can say, oh, I can see the amount of money, and then we get up to 4,000. That's super exciting. Whereas the number of copies, it might be a bit harder to calculate. People kind of have to trust me. But the thing is, if someone, let's some people do sometimes pledge extra just as a donation, and it doesn't feel right that that should then go towards unlocking a stretch goal. But more importantly, the shipping cost should definitely, absolutely, 100% not. And for me, just because someone buys it from America and pays more shipping, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be making any more money than someone buying it from here and I pay for shipping, even though it's gone up. So yes, I think that it just makes, if you're actually doing it, then if you're doing some sorts of stretch goals, then I think that it just makes more sense to do it based on the number of copies. Alex says, I think there's a psychological effect to bundling shipping into the base pledge, makes the game seem more expensive, even though it's the same amount of money. But you can go closer to the RRP rather than saying, oh, it's normally £40. Right now, we're doing it for £35 plus £10 shipping or whatever. You might say, oh, it's...
I mean, I think that's a really interesting thing, because there's definitely a psychological effect, and it's working out, how that affects different people, because there are some people who are like, oh, actually, I'll get this because because it's just the cost of the game, and then they kind of forget about it, and then they have to add the shipping on later, and that's not too much of a thing for them. They'd rather get something now, when they can. But then there are other people who go, hang on, that the shipping hanging over me, that's a far greater psychological effect than the cost of it at the moment. So it really depends on the person, and it kind of depends on who your audience is, I suppose.
Yeah, and yes, I agree, shipping can be a real pain, as Cosmodoc says, and I think that ultimately it sounds like you would probably just try to make life a bit simpler for yourself, go all the way through Kickstarter, but you don't have to make that decision until you're about to launch again. So the final thing that you wanted to chat about was your game for small children.
Yeah, so I've been looking at something at the moment where I have been thinking about, what if we had different different pictures. So at the moment, then what I've done is I've drawn a series of 10 pictures, and I haven't got them up anywhere. So you'll just have to imagine. You have to imagine, things that you'd see in a colouring book, for example. So a picture of some sweets, and it's, 2 lollies, which are round lollies, and then some stripy, humbug type sweets. And then maybe, a picture of a beach, for example, and you've got a sandcastle with a square flag and a triangle flag, and then you've got a round sun in the sky, that sort of thing. And so I've been drawing those and saying, okay, right, let's make some of these shapes different colors. So, you've got a green triangle and a purple square, for example, and then you've got a boat with, 2 triangles, as the sails, and one's red and one's purple, and I've been thinking, okay, how can we, because it's a fun game for my just turned 4-year-old to just look at them and go, okay, I'm going to put this card down and I'm going to say it's got a purple triangle on it, and then I put a card down, which has got something purple but not a triangle, for example, and that's kind of, that's a fun thing, to do with children, to do with small children, but of course it's not fun for my 6-year-old, who's much more advanced at this and is like, okay, well, where's the tension? So I've been thinking about.
Well, I guess the tension could just be that everyone's got their own deck, and you're playing on 2 communal piles at the same time.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about putting them down face down. Currently I've been thinking about essentially doing something. Do you remember games of telephone where you whisper something to one person and they whisper it to the next, and it sort of goes round, and by the end you get something completely different out? I've been thinking, well, hang on, what if I put down a card which has got a purple circle on it, and I say purple circle, and then somebody else needs to put down a card which has got something that matches one of those, face down, and no one can see them, and we have to get as many cards as we can down. before we have identical cards, for example, something like that. If we've got the same cards, if we've each got, a card with sweets on it, or we've each got a card with, a boat on it or something, that could be interesting.
Memory might be interesting. So if you ever have an exact match, that might be a foul.
Yeah. Well, I was
so
thinking,
like you take a turn to, I mean, in that case, if it's a memory aspect, presumably they should go face up, and each of these cards, like the boat, it's made up of maybe a couple of triangles and one trapezoid, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Although I don't expect the kids to be able to say trapezoid, but
maybe that's part of the educational bit of it.
maybe. And yeah, I do. Maybe you say an object and you can match one or both of the things that are mentioned, but if it's ever the outline, like the overall form, is exactly the same as the previous card, then, that's a foul.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, I think we've got to work out how much of this is going to be memory and how much of it is going to be logic. Because if you've all got the same, say you've all got exactly the same cards, but with different backs, for example, so say you've all got 5 cards and they're exactly the same pictures. It's just that, I don't know, I've got a red back to yours and you've got a blue back to yours. Then I could, then I'll know what card you're putting down when you say purple circle. But then I might need to be like, okay, right. So if I then put down a purple triangle and you put down a red triangle or something, then maybe I need to reach back. Well, maybe then you need to go, okay, did the purple circle one already go down? Because of course the purple circle one also has, I don't know, a yellow circle, or, on it, or a blue, I don't know, blue square or something. So it could be quite interesting for, for memory.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, like, if you've got cards that generally have 2 or 3 shapes on them and you're only using one of them, like, so you only say one of them, so you might not remember the other ones. But also if they were done in a way that they do look like little pictures, because boat's quite nice, house is quite nice, like lots of animals you might be able to make with a circle and little things. And you could have little anthropomorphic things where it's like, 2 circles. And yeah, I could imagine that they end up kind of looking vaguely like a cactus with or a plant with circles kind of blooming. I don't know.
Yes, that would be fun,
like,
actually.
Oh,
cacti.
you know what? There could be like black lines that kind of connect it all, but then the triangles and the circles and the squares, maybe it's just those 3 shapes, because you don't want too many, because presumably you want like at most 9 possibilities, I'm guessing. Like,
well, I mean, that's the thing. I'm trying to work out how many possibilities you want for each of them, because it can quite quickly get too complicated, and you want it. I suppose the question is, do I want somebody to, do I want it to only be one card where there's a purple circle, or do I want it to be that there are lots of circles, or I don't know. But anyway,
I mean,
that's where I am at the moment.
Like, either you make it as simple as it can be, and then you infuse the speed, or you make it into the memory game. But like, that sounds really interesting, and I think that you do have the audience of your children, and so you are blessed that you can make the things that we've talked about and memory.
Instant playtesters.
Is there anything more you want to say before we go to the question of the day? Question of the day. It's a little question before we go on our way. In that case,
I think I'm good.
Do you have a question?
I'm not sure. You go.
My question is, just what do you have a favorite font? Do you have, and if so, what is it? And if not, what kind of font do you like? Do you prefer sans serif, serif, script font, something that's chunky lines? I mean, I'm looking at the things on my table, and I'm actually going to cover this, but these are my return labels that
for Library Labyrinth, we've been using quite a delicate font. It's quite a bookish font. We've been using Al something, but it's a nice one. It's a sans font essentially, which I quite enjoy that one. Generally, I'm actually a fan of Tahoma, which I'm not quite sure what family that falls into, but I like fairly straightforward, simple-ish fonts, to be honest. And personally, I'm not that much of a bold person. So when I format a document, then I tend to make the headings different sizes. I mean, not like huge different sizes, but I tend to make them different sizes. The body of the text, sometimes 11, sometimes 12. Then the next heading up, sometimes a 14 bold, maybe a 16 without being bold, and then the title being an 18, quite often 18 bold. So yeah, I quite like a Verdana. I quite like that, to be honest. Tahoma. I mean, that would make sense with them being the same thing, essentially.
I mean, it's a very modern-looking font, that one. I do like it for short bits of text. I think that people do say, and it is correct, that with longer books and stuff, I think it's better to have serifs. Hello, Michael, it is lovely to see you. Yoda mentions the hieroglyph font. I don't have a strong preference, but at this point, over to you. What are you up to? You can share what's on there if you want to. So I am going to make sure I get outside today. I am going to head out for a wee bit, maybe even have a wee bit of a walk, do the things that I have to do, then go outside. And just because I told Chris, I didn't manage to get out the past couple of days at all, which is not good at all. So
you need to do a bit of getting out.
Yeah, that's me. I'm going to make sure that I post stuff, but that's basically the one thing that I've absolutely got to do today. What are you up to?
I am doing a little bit of party planning for a 6th birthday party. My now 6-year-old is now 6, but her birthday party is this weekend, which doesn't take that much planning. I mean, basically, we're all going to a community garden near us, which is very nice, and we are going to go to Lidl beforehand and just buy loads of crisps and snacks and things, and and she's got some of her classmates coming. So we're basically having a big picnic in the community garden. So that'll be lovely. But
sometimes it's worth going to Lidl the day before, because I have been to there and been amazed that they're just completely sold out.
I know. It's mainly because I've gone through, of course. I've been like, no, I'm going to have all of these. No, but yeah, seriously. So we're doing a bit of that, and then I am also going to sand off some of the edges on the front door so we can repaint it. We've just got a bit where the paint is, flaking a bit, so I need to do a bit of sanding and preparing before I paint it in a new color. We're painting it a sort of dark grey blue, which is not that dissimilar to to the color it is at the moment. So it's all good. It's all lovely.
And to recap and wrap up before we finish up, we've been chatting about so many things. I chatted about my next game, potentially coming to French people, but hopefully coming to, in a nice box to British people. It would be really nice if I could print enough to do a box myself, to do something print on demand. We talked about fonts. We talked about making games for children. We talked about, the struggles of getting everything done when you're finishing off a Kickstarter, and then you've got to actually get the postage money and how to work that out.
Yeah.
And we decided that, life is good and we do deserve days off sometimes.
Yeah.
Michael says, I'm working on a new baseball team after streaming. Got some stuff to drop at the post office, then eating leftover pizza for tea. That's my whole plan. That sounds actually like quite a nice thing.
I love that. That sounds like a great plan to me.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. And so, yes, at this point, I am going to say goodbye. It's been lovely to see everyone. If you want to check me out, I am Stuff by Bez everywhere. I am going to redo the shop next week. I'm going to commit to this. And by the end of not this week, but next week, I will have more things available in the shop. I will have counted all my stock. I'll do stock check and I will upgrade my shop. So you'll be able to buy more stuff if you so desire. Check out stuffbybez.com/dreams if you want to know about future stuff. Tomorrow I am going to be pondering the mechanic of action cues. And Friday I'll be going to playtest. Saturday I'll be going to now play this playtest, which might talk about. Sunday I'll be we'll have Ray and Laurie. You can check out the things. If you people want to check you out, Jess, where would you like to be found?
I am most often found on Twitter, so look for Descent Games at Twitter, but you can also find me on descentgames.com, specifically for Library Labyrinth. Go to librarylabyrinth.com because we've got newsletters going out about once every month, sometimes a little bit more often, but it's all good. So, yeah, come see me on Twitter. We are on Facebook too, but I'm more often on Twitter.
That sounds fantastic. I mean, Jess is a lovely person, always worth checking out on Twitter. And I'm just looking at what's going on Twitch, because, you know what, let's raid Amadeus Music. So if you're on Twitch, then we will raid Amadeus_music. Let's listen to what's going on there. For now, lots of love. Please do share, spread the word. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Sate, for coming back. And, I try to stick to an hour, even though it's a couple of minutes over. I do apologize, Jess. But,
no, that's fine.
Thank you, Josie. Lots of love to you too. Have a fabulous day yourself. And the only thing left to say is, I guess, bye, bye. Bye, bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Sate. Bye-bye, Phil. Bye-bye, Alex. Bye-bye. Love to love. Bye-bye.